At what point in this journey did you begin your production company?
Early on, so once you sort of started, you know, the short films and things like that, I just, my first short film was called Balloons goPOP. And then so I started goPOP Films, and that started with the short films that I was doing, and then when we embarked on making the feature film, we partnered up with Red Productions, which is based in Fort Worth, Texas, and Santa Monica, and then recently we started a commercial division of representing different commercial directors for that. So it was a slow process. It was me all the way back then, and then just learning the business of things, and then going, hey, you know, if this person could start a production company, what's stopping me from? Legal paperwork, you know, things like that. So that's exactly the path, and I wanted to have something I could control as a business. Yeah.
Can you talk about the process for starting your business, like step by step? What did you do?
Yeah. So it depends on, you know, obviously if you start out first, if it's just by yourself, for people out there not knowing, you could be a sole proprietor, so you don't have to, you know, you don't have to start an LLC. I eventually moved into goPOP Films as an LLC to gain the protection of that. But with that in mind, there's different fees involved, state fees, different, you know, taxes and things like that involved. So being like a producer versus like a director or anyone like that, you know, you have to sort of be on top of all the legal regulations, the taxes and things like that. So when you start like your production company, whether it's a commercial production company, you start charging people fees, producing video content, editing, and then you would charge that. Then that would be your revenue for the year, and you minus all your expenses. And then, you know, at first I was doing all my taxes and things, and then you want to find a good good accountant after a while. It gets a little bit hairy and things like that. And for those who are maybe starting a film or a movie or feature film, we had our film's called All Roads to Pearla. Prior to that, it was called Sleeping in Plastic. We started a Sleeping in Plastic LLC. So the film itself is its own entity, separate from goPOP Films. You know, so each film that you will make will have its own, you know, life. So that's sort of the progression of that. So I had this idea that, wow, okay, I'll have goPOP Films, and we'll do films. We do short films, and hopefully get into feature films. And then I had this other great idea, because I was trying to get into the commercial world of directing and video, and then instead of being in other people's rosters, oh, why don't I create my own commercial vision and put and collect talent that I think that have a great voice and professional and could deliver you know, video content and start it that way. So I liked the producing part. After I was produced the first feature film, I was like, whoa, this is a pain in the butt, but you learn so much. Then you almost like don't want to. For me, I like producing. I think it became it was fun, you know, to put things together, to help a director help their vision come alive with the constraint of the budget. And that's the key. You know, I was lucky to work with Red Sanders and Derek Brown from Red Productions. When I first met them, they're like, man, how could we help you make your vision. And I was like, wow. Everyone else, they were very honest about that. And I remember Derek Brown was like, that's part about being a good producer, is helping the director get their vision out there and come alive. And that's what I would like to do with other filmmakers, is help them get their, vision alive. So I love that aspect too,
Did you form the LLCs yourself, or did you use a lawyer or some type of legal service?
Oh, LegalZoom.
Okay.
LegalZoom right there. It's pretty easy. That's what we did for goPOP films. Yeah.
And then for the movie as well?
No, for the movie, Red Productions, Red Entertainment, and us, we had a lawyer, because I believe our because we were shooting in Oklahoma and Texas, so we had a couple different kind of more kind of the more complicated things. So Red had a lawyer that he always used for their films. So we went with the same one because this would have been their 7th film that they've done, our film. So I was going with them. It's like I think that's the funniest. The thing I've learned is this whole industry. I've learned is about leverage. It's kind of interesting. When I was starting and trying to push the script around, and they would go, "Oh, you haven't done a feature film before. It's all you have. This is all about execution. Could you execute this? Can you do that?" And then once I was fortunate enough to work with Red Productions, who've done all these great films before, I was able to work with. That's like playing with someone who is better at you in tennis, so you get better. So these last 3 or 4 years working with all these people was a dream, because I was still absorbing and learning what this industry is about, what's producing about, what's the legal work, how do you get things done. It's like being a director is different. Being a producer, you can't have a sustainable career if you don't make your investors' money back. Being a director, even though the movie might not be a financial success, but it might garner some accolades, your career could keep going. So the producer's role is really it's brutal. It's strictly business. You gotta make your investors' money back, and that's a different mindset. So I love all the challenges of it.
What's one thing that was a surprise, whether it was the paperwork, forming the LLC, talking to the attorney, that you were so glad that you'll always take with you moving forward? That maybe it was a surprise, whether it was you didn't know when the fees for the LLC were due, just different things, which I know those come up quick.
The surprise is when you get an IRS a letter coming at you. That's a big surprise. No.
Yeah. Well, it took Al Capone down.
Yeah. So you don't want to mess with the IRS. So the surprise is there's always a surprise. The surprise is if you get used to learning, if you get used to your mistakes but don't repeat them, I think that's great. Because you could go to all these great schools like producing or business schools and learn a lot of things, but it's something about being in the trenches and go, oh my gosh, that $800 fee, what's the date? October 15th? It has to be in. It's like so. Did we get the agreements done? Did the agents come and talk, and did we get this signed? So the surprise is get everything in writing, sign everything. It's all business. There's a reason that's why it's called the movie business, not the movie. Let's make Van's art. It's you got to enjoy that aspect of it. But if you love storytelling and you know how to kind of play and learn the rules of the movie business, and then I think you'll enjoy it.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah. No one wants to get a letter.
Yeah. No one wants to get a letter from the IRS, and then
And that's one of those things where you want to call right away. And
Yeah.
even if you're on hold for 2 hours, you just want to
So
handle that.
it's all those things, and there's fees, and they'll just keep going. So, the things I guess the thing that surprised me probably is once you think you have it all sent and done, there's always something else. It's like, there's like, I thought we did that. Didn't the deliverables, didn't we deliver that? Or wasn't that signed? Or what do you mean? It's like you have to be very thorough. Yeah.
When you formed your production company, did you take out a loan to purchase equipment?
Yeah. So when I first started before, the equipment was just like your DSLR cameras, your sound, lights, and everything. So it was credit cards. It was credit cards. I didn't do a personal loan, and this was like 10 plus years ago. Yeah, and then but then as you get more involved, and what's going on when we've switched from sole proprietor to LLC, that's when you had investors in the company. So then you had capital and equity and things like that you have to sort out. But I was just like any other small business owner with their dream and credit cards. It's a rough game. I had a friend who opened up this bar with 8-9 credit cards, and it became most popular bar, it won most popular bar in the world, a couple of years back. It's called Employees Only, and I remember way back when, and they had this dream, and they did it. It's not a good start, but it was the only start I had because I wanted to do it, and I didn't have I didn't go to the bank and go, hey, I need $50,000 to start this. I didn't go small business loans. I kept my overhead low. That's the thing. So then once you start having jobs, then you could pay things out. So the key is keeping your overhead low, which means, don't be straddled with rent, payroll. If I would spend on anything, I didn't spend that much on equipment. I spent more on marketing. I would do that because so that's what we still do.
Yeah, and don't be late with that credit card payment because
$29
late fee then goes on your credit report, and then you get a call 8 o'clock on a Sunday morning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Hi, can I speak to Van, please?
Yeah. Exactly. You asked that question, was it the right path? It's the path of an entrepreneur. I think there's an inherent stress that no one sort of talks about all the time, of whether it's your credit cards, whether it's your investors, where it's getting distribution. I'm going to get in this film festival. I'm going to get that. After all years of all of this, you become comfortable being uncomfortable. So you start to also become smarter and become a better business person. I always love it when I see signs that says, been in business since 1984, it's like, that's awesome. You know how hard it is to maintain any business for a stretch amount of time, whether you're shining shoes or this. It's the same thing with getting a movie. So I kind of had to tell myself, to take a chill pill and take one day at a time, or I'm going to get ulcer and a goiter if I keep worrying about are we going to get into this film festival? Are we going to do that? Are we going to do this? It's like, then you sit back, it's like, okay, if you do, then what? If you do, then what? It all comes back down to, why did you start 10 years ago? I love writing. I love doing this. So I always wanted to try to tell myself to not make something I love an albatross, you know? So I have to really remind myself of that every time, you know? So, okay, is this what you want to do? Okay, get better. Don't become cynical, things like that.